Om. Hello. Aloha. We are back again doing a comparative analysis of different translations of the Bhagavad Gita. Today we're doing chapter 18, the final chapter of the Gita, verse 61. And before we start, let me mention a few things. First of all, why am I doing this? Why did I do a translation, yet another translation of the Bhagavad Gita? Why is that even important? Partly it's because I am a yoga teacher. I'm a yoga professional. I run yoga teacher trainings. So I see this as another thing that I can offer my students. And I would love for this translation to get out to a broader audience because I think it's a very good translation. I did kind of a literal translation. I tried to stay as true to the meaning as I possibly could. And I really wanted to do not just a translation, but also a commentary. And I actually did start to do a commentary. But I thought, after a while, I thought maybe I should just start with a translation and then I'll do a commentary later. And part of my purpose in doing this also is for my own, just to delve into Sanskrit and delve into the Gita more deeply and to try to understand some of the nuances and some of the secrets that you might only get if you really actually engage with the text a little bit more. And I feel like I have to a certain extent, but I think it's going to be an ongoing process. This is 700 verses, so it's a lot of verses. It's not that many, but it's also, it's enough that there's a lot to take in. The other thing I've been doing on this channel is Course in Miracles, and Course in Miracles has an issue that has been ongoing in the world of A Course in Miracles. And I wanted to look to the Gita to try to make some sense of how to deal with this issue. Obviously, there are different ways of reading the Gita, different ways to interpret it. Some have interpreted it more in a non-dualistic way, and others have interpreted it in a more dualistic way. And it's the same thing with A Course in Miracles. Some people say that this is not teaching non-dualism. Don't bring non-dualism into this. And there are others who say that's exactly what this is getting at. So I'm interested in those things. I'm interested in understanding, the inner essence of the Gita, and who is Krishna? What is Krishna? Right? What is he really? And is there any way to get from the text a deeper meaning that's trying to be expressed there? So that, those kinds of things are things I'm dealing with. So anyway, this is a great verse. Let's just read the verse, and then we're going to be reading 18 different translations, okay? So here's the verse. Chapter 18, verse 61. Shloka 61. Īśvara sarva-bhūtānāṁ hṛid-deśhe Arjuna tiṣhṭhati bhrāmayan sarva-bhūtāni yantrārūḍhāni māyayā. Here's a translation. This is the one that I did. The Lord, īśhvara, abides, tiṣhṭhati, in the hearts, hṛid-deśhe, of all beings, sarva-bhūtānāṁ, Arjuna, causing all beings to revolve, bhrāmayan sarva-bhūtāni, by the power of illusion, māyayā, as if mounted on a machine, yantrārūḍhāni. So just the English. The Lord abides in the hearts of all beings, Arjuna, causing all beings to revolve by the power of illusion, as if mounted on a machine. This is one of the most interesting verses in the whole Gita. This is one of the most hard to translate. This is kind of cryptic, hard to understand. What is this yantrārūḍhāni? Let's look at some of the other translations. And by the way, just real quick, different ways to translate. I'm going to read these to you. 8 different ways, 8 different translation styles. Word for word translation, where you try to literally, you just try to translate each word, and you're not so even concerned about grammar. You're just, word for word. Literal translation, which is similar to word for word, except you are concerned about the grammar. Faithful translation, you try to translate according to the context and the contextual meaning of each word. Semantic translation, you're more concerned. It's similar to faithful, but you're concerned about the aesthetic value as well of the translation. Adaptation is the most unrestricted form of translation. You adapt it for something else, like adapting the Bhagavad Gita, for example, to make a novel out of it or something like that. Free translation, it reproduces the matter without the manner, or the content without the original form. Usually it is a paraphrase much longer than the original, so you're paraphrasing what it says. Idiomatic translation, it reproduces the message of the original but tends to distort nuances of meaning by preferring colloquialisms and idioms where these do not exist in the original. And finally, communicative translation, it attempts to render the exact contextual meaning of the original so that both content and language are readily acceptable and understandable to the readers. We'd have to go into this more deeply, but these are 8 translation styles: word for word, literal, faithful, semantic, adaptation, free translation, idiomatic translation, communicative translation. I might touch upon what kind of translation each one is. Most of these, I believe most of these are literal, faithful, semantic translations. Some of them are free. Some of them are, we'll call it more free translation. All right, so I had, the Lord abides in the hearts of all beings, Arjuna, causing all beings to revolve by the power of illusion as if mounted on a machine. Winthrop Sargent, who I was mainly using his translation in making my own, the Lord abides in the hearts of all beings, Arjuna, causing all beings to revolve by the power of illusion as if fixed on a machine. So he used fixed instead of mounted. That's the only real difference between his and my translation. Most translations I've seen have used the word mounted as opposed to fixed. So why Winthrop Sargent used fixed is not clear. He did have fixed as one of the possible meanings. He did have mounted as one of the possible meanings, but he decided not to use that. So anyway, Swami Shivananda, the Lord dwells in the hearts of all beings, or Arjuna. So he adds the O, right? So that's a question in translating the Bhagavad Gita. Some people put the O in there, right? Oh, Arjuna. It really just says Arjuna. It doesn't say, oh, Arjuna. So why do some people say, oh, why do some people put that O in there? It's usually O without an H, just an O, right? It's more poetic, and it's kind of adds a little something to it. It's like Krishna talking to his friend, oh, Arjuna, my friend, my and Arjuna, you could say, says, oh, Krishna, my friend. So the Lord dwells in the hearts of all beings, O Arjuna. It's also somewhat biblical. causing all beings by his elusive power to revolve as if mounted on a machine! Exclamation point. So that's Shivananda. He put an exclamation point. He translates Maya as elusive power. Winthrop Sargent had the power of illusion. I also put power of illusion, elusive power, power of illusion, same thing. Maya. Revolve, right? Causing all beings to revolve. That's a common way to translate bhrāmayan, which is an interesting word because it kind of has Brahma in there and Maya. It's a verb. So bhrāmayan sarva-bhūtāni, causing all beings to revolve. Maya. So bhrāmayan sarva-bhūtāni yantrārūḍhāni māyayā, by the power of illusion. Bhrāmayan. It's an interesting word. We'd have to really look into that word, bhrāmaya or bhrāmayan, to really understand this a little better. But in any case, that was Swami Shivananda's. Maybe we'll circle back to that. Swami Nikalananda, 1944, who probably used Shivananda's, I would guess. He used his translation. The Lord dwells in the hearts of all beings, O Arjuna, and by his Maya causes them to revolve as though mounted on a machine. Okay, dwells in the hearts. Sargent had abides in the hearts. The word is tiṣhṭhati, and remember we had that word yesterday. Tiṣhṭhati, some people translate it as exists, some people translate it as stands. So you could say stands, the Lord stands in the hearts, or sits in the hearts of all beings, tiṣhṭhati. Sarva-bhūtānāṁ. It's interesting that it has īśhvara sarva-bhūtānāṁ hṛid-deśhe, in the place of the hearts, in the region of the heart. The Lord abides in the heart space of all beings, you might say. The heart space. That might be an even better translation. Of all beings, Arjuna, causing all beings to revolve. Now, let me just say that many times in the Gita, we'd have to find how many times, but it says a number of times that the Lord resides in the heart, right? It keeps talking about the heart, the heart, the heart. I would say at least 5 to 10 times. We'd have to find all those different places. So Shivananda and Nikalananda both had dwells in the hearts for tiṣhṭhati. Nikalananda also mentioned chapter 9, verse 10. And that verse is māyayā dhyakshena prakriti suyate sa characharam hetunanena kaunteya jagad viparivartate. Under me, as supervisor, material nature produces both the animate and the inanimate. By this cause, Arjuna, son of Kunti, the world revolves. So this is another use of revolve, but it's a different verb. So, but that's an interesting verse to look at in this context as well, to try to understand what this is saying. So under me, as supervisor, material nature, Prakriti, produces both the animate and the inanimate. By this cause, Arjuna, son of Kunti, the world revolves. All right, moving on. Bhagavad-gita.io. This is a translation from that website. The Lord dwells in the hearts of all beings. That's Shivananda and Nikalananda. O Arjuna, causing all beings by his illusory power to revolve as if mounted on a machine. Very similar to Shivananda and Nikalananda. Ramana Maharshi actually had like 42 verses that he chose to summarize the whole Gita. These are the most important verses in the Gita, and this was one of them. And his translation, at least the translation, maybe not his translation, but how this verse was translated by his people, maybe, or maybe this was his translation, I don't know. O Arjuna, the Lord abides in the heart center of all beings and makes them revolve by his elusive power as though they are puppets mounted on a machine. Now, where does it get the puppets? maybe there is a reason to use that term for yantrārūḍhāni. It's an interesting image too, and I've seen this one before, and I've thought that this was interesting. It's the one time where kind of talks about Krishna as the grand puppeteer. So I like the fact that he translates hṛid-deśhe as heart center, and I'm thinking about maybe doing that myself. I might change it slightly. But this whole thing about his elusive power causes them to revolve as if they're puppets mounted on a machine. It's kind of a scary image in a way too. It's kind of off-putting image. Swami Shri Atmananda. Arjuna, he skips the O Arjuna, right? Arjuna, God dwells in the hearts of all beings and makes everyone dance to his command by the power of his māyā, as if all beings are fixed on a machine. So he uses the word fixed, like Winthrop Sargent. He also has everyone dances to his command by the power of his māyā. He does not translate māyā, which is interesting, right? He doesn't say that the power of illusion. So everyone dances to his command. That's not really in there, right? It's like a colloquialism that's so that would be, like, let's see, that would be an example of idiomatic translation, right? That would be an idiomatic translation. So Ramanuja, the Lord abides in the heart of every being, O Arjuna, spinning them round and round by his power, right? Instead of making them revolve, spinning them round and round by his power as if they were mounted on a machine. So we have mounted on a machine, yantrārūḍhāni. He uses abides as opposed to dwells for tiṣhṭhati. And he uses spinning them round and round as opposed to revolve, causing them to revolve. Here he says spinning them round and round. Yeah, it's more or less the same, right? All right. Srila Prabhupada, who generally has the most, you might say, eccentric translation of all of them. But let's see what he says. The Supreme Lord, so īśhvara, he translates, everyone is translating Lord for īśhvara, or God. God or Lord for īśvara. Lord, Lord, Lord. Nikalananda, Lord. Shivananda, Lord. Winthrop Sargent, Lord. I also translated īśvara as Lord. Although that might not be the best translation, It depends how you understand what īśvara is. So Srila Prabhupada says the Supreme Lord is situated in everyone's heart, O Arjuna. So he uses situated as for tiṣhṭhati, and that's actually a good translation, I believe, for tiṣhṭhati. And is directing the wanderings of all living entities who are seated as on a machine made of the material energy. Now, made of the material energy is not there. Directing the wanderings of all living entities. That's an interesting translation. I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but it's interesting, and it'd be interesting to hear what how he commented on this. So we'd have to look at that. But So it doesn't have anything to do with prakriti. It doesn't use the word prakriti here, but he does say made of the material energy, which is not there. So he added that. Jeffrey Armstrong, Kavindra Rishi, who I believe was using the Srila Prabhupada, coming out of that tradition, the same tradition, if I'm not mistaken. So he says, "O Arjuna, I am the Supreme Being." He does not translate īśhvara, because he would not use the word Lord, because Lord he thinks is too biblical. But he also doesn't use īśvara. He uses "I am that Supreme Being." So he keeps the supreme that Srila Prabhupada had, but he just switches Lord to being. I am that Supreme Being who's the ruler and director of all beings, and I live in their hearts just as they reside in a place. So that's trying to explain why the word deśe, hṛid-deśhe, why does it say deśe? So he kind of paraphrases there, kind of gives his own interpretation. I live in their hearts just as they reside in a place. I don't think that's that great, personally. But from there I cause all things and all beings to revolve. So he uses the word revolve. Yantrārūḍhāni māyayā. So he actually includes the Sanskrit in his translation. And then he puts in quotations just as if they were attached to a machine that turns them around and around. Now, why does he put that in quotations? Remember Ramanuja had, maybe he's kind of quoting Ramanuja. I don't know. He's quoting something there, right? Or maybe he's not. I don't know. It's a little confusing. But that the yantrārūḍhāni māyayā is a it's cryptic. It's like, what is that? What is that? What is a yantra, right? People are translating it as machine, but is that the best translation for yantra? Right? Could you understand yantra in a different way here? Maybe you could. Right? So why is everyone translating that as machine? All right, let's see what īśhvara also has a more poetic, and you might say, off the beaten path translation. So he says, the Lord dwells in the hearts of all creatures and whirls them round and round the wheel of Maya. Upon the wheel of Maya. So he translates.
Sam gave me this box and I put some coins in there.
Okay, bud.
We're gonna paint it Christmassy.
Okay,
So
cool, bud.
some coins in there.
Nice, bud. Great. So he translates yantra maybe as wheel here. The wheel of Maya. I don't know. Is Maya a wheel? What? It depends how you understand Maya too. This is all very cryptic. But if you for someone who really knows Sanskrit and the literature, maybe they can make more sense of this. But if you get anything from what I'm doing here, it seems that everyone is using someone else's translation, and I'm almost definite that these translations are, really just not set in stone. Nothing here is absolute. Some of these translations might be getting a little closer, but everyone is a little bit in the dark, it seems. Shri Purohit Swami. God dwells in the hearts of all beings, O Arjuna. So he uses the word dwell for tiṣhṭhati. He says God instead of Lord. He causes them to revolve as it were on a wheel. So wheel, again, īśhvaran, by his mystic power. So he translates māyā as mystic power, not elusive power, but mystic power. Yantra is wheel. So maybe that is a better translation for yantra than machine, right? Why is everyone translating yantra as machine? Swami Biji Narasingha. O Arjuna, the supreme controller, this is īśhvara, right? Supreme controller resides in the hearts of all living beings. By his elusive energy, he directs all their activities as if they were mounted on a machine. Okay, all right, well, that's similar to everyone else. He directs, instead of he makes revolve, or he spins around, or whirls around, he directs all their activities as if they were mounted on a machine. All right. Jayadaya Goyanka Gita Press, Arjuna. God abides in the heart of all creatures, causing them to revolve according to their karma by his elusive power, seated as those beings are in the vehicle of the body. So he brings in the idea of karma here. Now the vehicle of the body here is the yantra, right? This is an interesting translation. This is maybe getting closer to the actual meaning of it, right? That everyone moves according to their karma. It's a freer translation, but it's also could be getting more to the essence of it. But let's go on, because we might see another one that's like this. Swami Mukundananda, the Supreme Lord, dwells in the hearts of all living beings. O Arjuna. This is more Hindi, right? Arjuna as opposed to Arjuna. According to their karmas, it's again karma, he directs the wanderings of the souls who are seated on a machine made of material energy. So yantra, a machine made of material energy. Similar to Srila Prabhupada, this is actually quite similar. Srila Prabhupada had the Supreme Lord is situated in everyone's heart, O Arjuna, and is directing the wanderings of all living entities who are seated as on a machine made of the material energy. It's very similar. So he's probably Swami Mukundananda was probably using, I would think he was kind of using Srila Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita as it is. All right, next one. SupremeKnowledge.org, O Arjuna, again Hindi, causing all the living beings mounted on the body-like machine to revolve according to their deeds by his māyā, the omniscient God, īśhvara, is situated in the heart of all the living beings. So he makes everything revolve according to their deeds by his māyā, right? By their karma. He uses deeds as opposed to karma. Karma means deeds or actions. Again, this is maybe not a literal translation, but it might be getting closer to what it's really saying. Parama Karuna Devi, this is the first time I'm using her translation. She has a very good one. It looks like she really did her homework in her translation. I was reading some of her commentary. She really brings in a lot of the related literature, the Upanishads. So, O Arjuna, the Lord of all beings, resides in the heart of all beings, and all beings move around each in its own high position as parts of a machinery under the power of māyā. It's similar to the other ones, but it's still cryptic, just like the other ones, except, it's the ones that we read recently about karma might be getting a little closer to explaining what it is meant by it. Whereas if you read this, how she translated it, it's parts of a machinery under the power of māyā. It's a little, it's like, what does that mean? Come on. All right, finally, 30 minutes later, Sir Edwin Arnold. There lives a master in the hearts of men, maketh their deeds by subtle pulling strings, dance to what tune he will. So this is also the puppeteer, the grand puppeteer, and the dancing. So this is a combination of the puppet. Where did we see the puppeteer? Swami Atmananda had the dance, right? He had the dancing, and then Ramana Maharshi had the puppets. So it might be a combination of those two translations. Pulling the strings, or maybe Ramana Maharshi and Atmananda used Edwin Arnold, because Edwin Arnold's translation is a very old one. I think it's at least 150 years old, maybe older than that even. The song Celestial. Anyway, that's all for today. This is a long video. Thank you so much for tuning in if you did and listening. Let's go back to the original verse one more time, just to just īśhvara sarva-bhūtānāṁ hṛid-deśhe Arjuna tiṣhṭhati bhrāmayan sarva-bhūtāni yantrārūḍhāni māyayā. I think I might change a few words of my own translation here. Īśhvara. Yeah, I'm going to think this through some more. I think, yeah. So you'll see when it comes out what I do. But thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you again soon. I'm going to keep doing these. I'm going to release this translation on November 5th. And, from now until then, I'm going to be doing these videos where I go through some different translations, talk about the verse, talk about the deeper meaning, and hope it's helping. We didn't really go into the deeper meaning, but we could, and maybe next time I'll start with that. I'll start with the deeper meaning of the verse. I think just the idea that you could say your higher self is right there within you, right? The God is within you, and don't get caught up in the movements of karma, but try to connect with that, with God in your heart, right? And free yourself. In doing that, free yourself from the illusion. And the Gita is really getting at this idea that you are not the doer, right? I am not the doer. I am not the one in control here, right? God is really pulling the strings. So this whole sense of agency, if I could let go of that, I would actually be a lot happier and feel a lot more free. And I really free myself ultimately from the illusion. So with that, let's just say Hari Om Tat Sat.